Welcome to Ultimate Game State. Today we are going to paint another one of the monthly figures. So today is Leviathan release date, and the new model for today that came out today. I know everyone's very busy on their big boxes, which is not something I've indulged in. And they probably have thousands of these little buggers floating around already. But I have one. And what we're going to do is we're going to assemble it. I'm going to glue it down. We are going to paint it up in one of the schemes that Tovarian had on one of his videos, so I'll have a link to that. It's just going to be the bone and red version. So it's the Saturday. The idea here is to try and get it painted up, just to a nice standard, and then pop it into my local games workshop for tomorrow. Alright, so this is me working away in background in double speed. I've also cut out a bunch of places, so you don't have to see me doing the same thing over and over again. If you do check in the background now, you will see it's pretty bright. Check again later near the end and you'll see it's gotten quite dark. I started recording this around 2:30 after getting back from my local Warhammer store, and I finished the model up around 9:30. I think there's a solid hour break in there, so I probably spent 5 to 6 hours on just this one model. Luckily, you don't have to sit through all of that. But we are down to about 30 minutes, and that's still a lot of dead air. So I figured I'd talk about how the channel is going and what plans I have for further down the line. So I started Optimal Game State over a year ago at this stage, and this will be my 79th video, which I'm pretty chuffed by. I have almost 1,500 subscribers, so I figured I must be doing something right. I've gotten into a nice rhythm of getting a video out every Tuesday, although on a few occasions it's been pretty touch and go. I try have to choose a video as something that'll be useful in the long term, so a topic I spend some time researching and then try to present in a clear way. My usual approach is to write up a script, do up some of the graphical elements, then record me reading out the dialogue a lot of the time. So yeah, often it's not off the cuff. It's literally just me reading the screen. But you know, I have actually written all those words. And then I have to go back and I've got to edit it all to tidy it up, often removing the inhales and the breathing sounds, and just kind of keeping everything nice and tight. I'll occasionally do some videos outside of the normal weekly Tuesday release, like this one. That might be for a short video, a new release, or something where I feel it doesn't justify being one of the weekly releases. This, for example, is my second painting video. Now, this isn't the channel where you're going to learn how to paint, although I guess there is some value in watching someone trying to paint along with one of the experts. As you'll see later on, I do have some problems, which you could probably learn from if you wanted to try the scheme. That said, I do really like the idea of painting these monthly figures. Years back, White Dwarf came out with a Slaughter Priest brew, and it was really nice seeing everyone work on their versions of it. These days, all the content creators seem to be working on the release for what's coming out next week, which I don't really like. But in theory, anyone with a local Warhammer store should be able to pick up the monthly figure. I do try have a Warcry video every second week. Out of all the GW games, Warcry is probably my favourite and is definitely the one I've played the most. So I've made a lot of videos about it. That means a lot of people subscribe looking for Warcry, so it's a bit of a cycle. That's fine though, as there is tons to cover. The Skaven video has just gone up, and I've been tempted to put together a Skaven warband since seeing the Rat Hunters campaign in the Tome of Champions 2021. So that's where you have a co-op or you play single player versus the AI swarms of Skaven. It looks like a lot of fun, to be honest. I have held off on it though. Although recently I have spent a good amount of time in eBay looking at Spiteclaw Swarm and trying to track down those 2 rat ogres from the Isle of Blood. The reason I've been able to stay strong though is I'm also planning a Cursed City campaign for Christmas. So I did get the boxed game for Cursed City all painted up, and I've got a bunch of other death models that are done in the same base style. So this is for a Warcry campaign set in the Cursed City, which I think could be really good. It'll have lots of wartime vibes. We've got like a story and a background, and I know Cubicle 7 are looking at releasing a RPG supplement to it, which will, add to the background for it. I do have a city-style game mat on order from Era Hobbies, and I've already got some Green Stuff World molds to make resin buildings out. So, as time goes on, I might try to be a few videos related to that, and hopefully by the time we hit Christmas, I will have put together a campaign pack with the idea of, a chained link of 4 or 5 games where you get to use some of the Cursed City heroes as allies, and you're playing against a GM running all of the undead. So one player is going to be the hero advancing the warband, and then the other guy is going to be playing all of the undead, maybe with a Radagar at the end. That could be cool. Anyway, that's a long-term plan for Warcry. So how that translates into videos, I'm not so sure. We'll see how it goes. As a brief interlude to focus back on the painting here, I have missed one of the steps from Tovarian's video. I did do it, or I will do it later. He darkens up some of the underneaths and some sections around joints and stuff with some snakebite leather contrast. I just didn't manage to capture it, so you don't get to see it here. I will say that I don't remember him talking about how he dilutes down his contrast. I suspect from trying it myself that it should at least be like a 50-50 mix with contrast medium, just to make it a little bit thinner. That seemed to match the style he had a lot better. The section I'm doing here is just to get that little leopard style pattern onto the areas of the skin next to the armor plates. It's a really good look. One thing I did miss was I think Tovarian did darken it down afterwards with a snakebite leather. Now my shapes, as you see them, for as much as you see them, didn't get a great cut of it, aren't very structured and regular like the ones he had. But it didn't need to be. It didn't need to be perfect. Okay, the Blood Angel's red. This was very satisfying. This was a lot of fun to do. It's such a bright, striking color. This wasn't the color he used, but I just really like getting my base colors down with contrast. It gets so much work done. Obviously, it had to be pretty tidy, but it was fine. As you'll see later, I do miss a couple of sections. Like I should be getting this red onto the gun as well. I just don't. But the good thing is you can go back later and you can fix these things. Alright, back to some more commentary. For Kill Team, I did manage to get a box of Ashes of Faith, and I'm pretty excited about doing that up. The whole Inquisition versus Cultists is pretty classic. I do have a decent chunk of the city scenery from the original Kill Team box, although I'm sure I need to go back and finish parts of it and update some. So yeah, there's a chunk of work to get done there. On the flip side, I have finished up the Into the Dark box set, so that is fully painted with the Navy Breachers and the Crute all looking fine. So yeah, I mean that's the case where I probably should work on getting a Let's Play done, get a battle report for that just to play it out. I think I do want to get cards done for the operatives first. So there's a Kill Team card creator that I've done, like the Warcry one, where you can put the art and you can have the card ready. I just feel when playing these games is a lot handier, especially when introducing new people to it or picking it up for yourself. I haven't actually played any of the new version of Kill Team. I've only familiarity with the earlier one. So yeah, having those cards I think would really help get that game down. But yeah, it actually does a decent amount of work to get the text and images, checking on Wikipedia, and then pulling it all together. Now, I guess if I do manage to get those 2 sets of cards, I can save them as JSON files where you can just upload it onto the tool and then edit them. So that might be something to do a video on, maybe? We'll see. Moving over to Necromunda, I do have that Ash Waste box, and still have everything in that to do. I am quite looking forward to it though, as it is a really gorgeous set of scenery and models. Actually, I would work for the Inquisition thing as well. That could be very cool. I also have a mat that will work very well for the Ash Waste already, so I don't need to do anything more with that. That said, for Necromunda, I'm more likely to take a look at the Goliath first. So I do have a Goliath gang still in the box that I need to assemble. And usually when I get a box like this, you know, you have those decisions to make over exactly how you're going to assemble it, what weapons you pick, and so on and so forth. And normally when I've got that question, that's when I make a video, because I get to do the research, I pull the graphics together, you know, I record the audio, but really I'm making the video that I wanted somebody else to make for me, to be able to help me with those decisions. Of a little bit more interest, when I was at Warhammer World, I did pick up a couple of fun packs. So I've got the Warhammer World Special pack, which is the bunch of Lady Orlocks, which is kind of cool. I did pick up some Escher cats. I know they're not mechanically great, but they do look amazing. And I got Crya the Huntress. So she's got feathers and colours everywhere, so that'll be a fun painting project and should, you know, add a little bit of pizzazz to the Escher crew I've got. More importantly, I did pick up Lady Hera, who I have to admit that mound of resin is a little intimidating. I haven't test fitted it yet, but I'm terrifying that there's going to be gaps, there's going to be problems, but we'll get to that later. Once I do manage to assemble her though, I will have Lady Credo and Lady Hera, who are both two of the major players in the story currently. So it might be fun to do a game with both of them leading gangs, and then just a straight up duel to the death, see who comes out of it alive. Because they're both packing some pretty impressive weapons, especially Lady Hera. Underworlds, I do want to get a game of Warhammer Underworlds done. Specifically, I have the Witch Hunters and the Vampire Warbands ready to go. So I'm not necessarily sure how mechanically they'll play, but you know, thematic, it seems pretty epic. And I've got them both painted up pretty well, which should be good. Actually, if I'm going to be making scenery, I might make some blocking scenery for Underworlds as well. You just need to make sure it fits in the hexes, so I'll have to keep that in mind when I'm doing it. Because yeah, if we're doing Cursed City scenery, I like doing kind of dark with a blue tinge to it. I feel that very, very much is a Cursed City look. But yeah, for playing Warhammer Underworlds, like the boards and the models are easy, but actually convincing someone to play has been a little bit tricky. I think the card aspect of it makes it a little bit harder. Like, you really want to just sit them down and get them ready to play, but then, you know, understanding the card side of it, the building the decks and knowing what to play when, and yeah, it makes it a little trickier. Alright, what else do we have on the table? Titanicus. I do have a video halfway prepped, which looks at the various Titan weapon options. With a lot of games, the best weapon is usually obvious, but the way Titan shields work, you're looking for hits to bring down the shields, and then after you've got the shield down, you're looking for maximizing damage. So it actually does make for a great range in different weapons being viable, because there are different situations, different scenarios, and then, you know, depending on what your target is and what your range is, different weapons will come out on top. So I think that could be an interesting one. It would also make for a good prep as well, because I do have the 2 core sets, so I'm ready to play a game of Titanicus. I do have, let me just reach back here, the Drop Zone Commander RuneScape set, which is the cardboard scenery. So I have that ready to go. I do kind of want to expand it out though. I do have some boxes of Titanicus scenery. So I've got the Civitas Imperialis and I've got the Manufactorum Imperialis. And yeah, if I could crack into those, it might make it look a little bit better. But I think you just need a lot more to slowly work through. But yes, so I've got the 2 boxes. So I definitely could play a battle report of Titanicus, and I really enjoy that game, so it's a good one. Eventually I do need to pick up 2 Warlord Titans though, 1 for each side. Although I think even without the Warlord Titans, the game would be pretty fun. But yeah, and the battle reports do actually take a little bit of time to kind of put together and organize, and I'm not necessarily sure how valuable it is for the viewer. So we did do we did do the Aeronautica video recently, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. You definitely should check it out if you haven't already. Even if you've never played Aeronautica, there's a lot of fun elements in it. To make that though, I had to organize the game, prep the setup to record it, and then edit it all together later. So you get the fun parts rather than every second. And then, after that, I didn't get great views. Now, that's not necessarily a big deal, as this channel isn't my job. I'm not sponsored, I don't care about the clicks. So I kind of have the luxury of not worrying about it. But I kind of feel like the battle reports, unless they've got an element to it, beyond watching two people have fun, I feel like they should contribute in some way towards your game, towards you having fun. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I have a habit of watching the start of battle reports to see the commentary on why they picked lists and their approaches and maybe their initial setup, and then I often just skip forward until I get to the end, unless it's a kind of a detailed video where someone is kind of explaining the various tactics. Often when they've got those cutscenes where you'll have someone move their models forward and it'll cut to them away in a corner going, the reason I'm moving my models up is so I can flank them on the left hand side. You'll never suspect it. I think that kind of stuff can be good, but it just involves so much work, and often I feel you can get a lot more out of just a simple review in a warband or something like that. Back looking at the painting again. So this was a section where I had some problems. So I'm just finishing up the edge highlighting with the orange, all looking good. And now we're moving over to a black contrast. So what Travarian did in his video, which was very, very cool, was he put some of the black contrast onto the scales, the chitin, and then darkened it all down, and then later took a damp brush to lighten it up. So at first what I'm doing here is I'm kind of strategically placing it in. So kind of putting it at the edges of the scales. But then it occurred to me that doesn't really make sense, because if that's the way to do it, then you don't need to wipe off anything. So why would you bother? So I started taking a little bit more of an aggressive approach to it. And end up putting on kind of, I guess, more and more. So here you can see me, putting on good chunks. But see the way the finish isn't quite going the way I want it. I'm not sure if it's the way I've got, maybe the gravity is wrong. I should have it upside down or something. Now maybe I just didn't. I had it too diluted or not diluted enough. But yeah, it started causing me some problems. And then after I have it applied, I don't actually know how long you're supposed to leave it. Again, this might have been something that Travarian had put in it, and in his video, and I just missed it. But at this stage, I was beginning to kind of panic a bit. Didn't feel good, so I start. Not sure if I'm a combination of applying and wiping it off. Yeah, look here. I've decided that if I'm wiping it off, then surely I need more of it on it so I can wipe it off, right? Spoiler, this does not end well. Well, it's not fair. Alright, so we layer it on. Yeah, I don't know how long to leave it. Do I leave it for a minute? Do I leave it for 2? I don't leave it for long. Okay, here's me trying to wipe it off. So it does work to a certain extent, but it's just, I don't know, it's so uneven on it. The black has gone down heavier in certain sections and lighter in other sections. So what he had suggested, which was to kind of clear things up, does work to a certain extent. Just, I think because I had never done it before, didn't really understand how long I should be leaving it for, Wasn't sure of what the kind of dilution, the consistency of the contrast should have been. I think I just made a bit of a mess of it. Now, I guess this is kind of a lesson in what to do once things go horribly wrong. After a bit, right now I'm still trying to kind of clear it off like Trevarion's video had. I'm just going to, after a bit, get back into it and then highlight back up again. And it's going to look great. But yeah, it's at this moment I was a little bit panicky. It didn't quite work out the way I was hoping, and I just hadn't tried it before. I guess it was a good learning experience for me. Right, back to me talking more about games. The only game I haven't mentioned yet out of the Warhammer boxed games is Blood Bowl. So I did get the Dark Elf video up recently. Probably look at doing a Dwarf one, maybe a Lizardman soon enough, because I do have those teams ready to go as well. And the format for the Dark Elf one I felt was quite good and I enjoyed it. But of more interest, I did order a 3D printed team for the Dark Elves. Now, all going well, I'll get them relatively quick and get them ready and get some games in. But this 3D printed thing might be a little bit more of a game changer if it works out. So when we did the Warcry Lustry video, there were some pretty awesome looking Amazonian models in the Aztec style. They were very tempting, but like I don't have a 3D printer myself. I've never ordered them before. This was a Etsy purchase. And yeah, there's also some pretty amazing Skaven models out there. So we're recently looking at the Skaven line, and I feel like GW have dropped the ball on Skaven, although it does look like one of the upcoming releases may be Skaven. Now, whether that's just another Underworlds warband rather than a full line, we'll have to see. And yeah, there's tons of Mordheim stuff out there. I think that would be very, very in keeping if I was going to go for that Cursed City style warband. So, padding out a full Witch Hunter warband would be pretty cool to break into that kind of campaign. That said, I don't really need any more models. As I've talked about, I've got an extensive range of models that I really need to work on. I didn't pick up the Leviathan box, although one of my friends did give me some of the Space Marine heroes out of that to work on. And I did pull out my Necron and Black Templar armies, which many are still on sprues. There's probably about 2 to 3k of each. And they all need to get painted, and I have decided years ago to paint them in fancy styles that are not simple to just throw together. So my Necrons are not a quick and simple silver dry brush. They're a grim dark style, actually by Trevarien, who's the same one as the model we're painting today. Highly recommended. I love his stuff. But yeah, if every model took as long as this one, which was like 5 to 6 hours, then it'll be a long time before I get up to all of my models painted. So I need to find a way to kind of speed that one up. Yeah, so I guess things are ongoing. There is lots more content. There's a lot more stuff to come in the future. So if this is the kind of content that you're interested in, as I say in the intros and the outros, the focus is always to put together a 2-player game and try to get the most out of it I can. So, we've got lots of things looking at the different warbands. Obviously, you can use that for competitive play, but the real idea here is to get a better understanding of what works and what doesn't, so you can kind of get 2 warbands that would be a fun fit with each other. Similarly, I've been doing a lot of narrative elements, so I was really happy with that Kill Team Gilead one. I have a box of the Astra Militarum, which I definitely didn't need, but I did pick up to go along with the Inquisitorial Kill Team, and I'm going to do those up as Gravediggers from the Gilead Gravediggers, which is a nice grey and khaki Cadian scheme that came out quite well. Again, I got another free model of that from Warhammer, did it up nice, and quite enjoyed the whole process. It was just largely just get the the base colors down and then wash with like an Agrax, and it was basically done. I'm rambling. What am I doing? Yes. So things are ongoing. That said, if you have any things that you would like me to cover, please do put it in the comments. I often hit a Friday evening without a plan for what I'm going to do next Tuesday, and when people have mentioned things that they're interested in, it gives me an incentive. So I know at the most recently in the Skaven one, who did we have? Yeah, Eggy Wegs said he'd love to see maybe some Flesh Eater Courts. I had actually been in my local Warhammer store and was talking to one of the staff there. They still have a box of Flesh Eater Courts with the undead dragon in it, and I mean, who doesn't need more dragons in their lives? I could definitely do one. And you know, again, would that be a feature battle for the Cursed City? Lots of city type terrain, big dragon in the middle. That could be a lot of fun. Yeah, so I might end up doing that soon. We'll see how this goes. When I'm in the Warhammer store, often if I've got a notion in my head and the idea, I'll end up adding more models to the pile to keep working on. But yes, if you've got any ideas, please do drop a comment, and there's a pretty good chance that I'll cover it soon enough. Okay, so at this stage, I've got the major parts of the body done. So we've got the bone and the red. So right now I am, what are we doing? We're getting some of the titanium white down, and this is going to be the sections that we're going to get that glow with. So Travarian, for that glow, does end up mixing the turquoise and the athematic blue contrasts. And this is the second time in this particular video that we've seen contrast mixing, which isn't something I often think about, but the contrasts are perfect for mixing with each other, so it gets some really nice effects. I've also, as I was saying earlier, I did miss the weapon, so there was like a red section of the weapon that needed to get done. So that was essentially just replay from scratch. So we did it in the Blood Angel Red. We at that point I went straight in with the black contrast to darken down the middle sections of it. I was going to lighten it up earlier, just a little bit of a fast way to do it. And I've skipped the section where we got the blue contrast in, and I'm just adding a little bit of white to it to act as a highlight. In this case, I did also use the same color for the eyes, which isn't what Travarian did. He actually did it with yellow, which I think probably looks a little bit better. I just missed it when I was going back over it. And we're getting the little hoofies. So this is again using a wonderful black contrast, or black Legion contrast, and then I'm just using a grey of some variety. I think it was Administrative Grey, but it really doesn't matter, to just add the highlights onto black. At this stage, we're really feeling like we're in the home run. Get those claws, the weapon. For my Black Templars and for my Necrons, I do a desert scheme. So it's a Mars desert scheme. And with the Necrons, there's like lots of metallic bits with Necron symbols in it. And for the Templars, there's kind of ivory looking marble stones and stuff like this. So I was going to do the same kind of color, but looking at it, I mean, I'm doing a red base with a red mini, but on reflection was just a bad idea. You know, the model doesn't quite pop as much as it maybe could. So that was me breaking out a hairdryer, get that dried out nice and fast so I can go over it again. And here we're breaking out some Administrative Grey, and it's just a matter of dropping down the grey. Then we're going to do a Nuln Oil wash on it, nice and simple, and then we're going to dry brush it up again. So nice, quick and fast. We'll get this model finished. can see I've skipped through those steps, just giving a little bit of highlights onto that extra skull. That was one that we'd added in, so when we were putting down the Vallejo texture paint, we just were able to drop the skull in. You don't even have to glue them in, it's quite handy. Just a few more highlights. Always do more highlights. There were a lot of details here that I did find I had to go back in that I missed, especially around the gun. The gun is kind of a mix of the hand holding it in different sections. So it was there were bits I missed, and you know, it's easy enough. You do the base layer, you do your scale contrast, you do your highlight, nice and quick. Trying it again. Having the hairdryer is just so handy. Although that does look a bit dodgy. Anyway, yes. So here is our finished model. I'm quite happy with it. I dropped it into the Warhammer store the next day. So for me, this is a fun little challenge. I go down on the Saturday when they have the new model in. I try get it back to them on the Sunday. And because it's, you know, something different every time, it's a bit of fun. Anyway, thank you for listening and watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you like this format, please do tell me. I'll probably play around with this a few more times before I work out exactly what I'm doing.